Welcome to the Catholic Apostolate Center's blogcast series. Today's episode is titled, Realizing We Are Abundantly Blessed, written by Jay Schaefer and read by Meg Ferguson. Growing up in a fairly large extended Catholic family, I remember Thanksgivings of my childhood, always including long, loud dinners, preceded by seemingly longer prayers of grace before the big meal. As children, we were encouraged, or really required, to go around the table and each name one thing we were most thankful for. It could be something small or large, momentous or enduring, as long as it was something we were truly grateful to have in our lives. My parents, aunts, and uncles were naturally trying to make sure we didn't take for granted the food on the table, let alone all the other blessings in our young lives. There were plenty of years when, fancying myself the dutiful elder of 2 children, I'd spend the week or so leading up to the holiday concocting the best possible thing to say I was thankful for, lest my younger sister or one of my cousins came up with something better. And then there were years when I completely forgot to prepare, only to half-heartedly come up with something on the spot when my turn came. While the former may have boosted my ego, the latter made up for it by knocking me down a peg. I'd often think to myself, could I really be so ungrateful that that's all I could come up with? As we hear in the story of the 10 lepers in Luke's Gospel, it says, realizing he had been healed, returned, glorifying God in a loud voice. Jesus commended the Samaritan man's gratitude, telling him, your faith has saved you. Don't we all prefer to think of ourselves as that dutiful, humble foreigner, rather than counting ourselves among the 9 ungrateful ones, who couldn't be bothered to thank Jesus? And yet, how quick we are to forget the truth that we are, in fact, abundantly blessed by God. I've always found this story to have 2 key points. First, we are better able to receive God's blessings and grace when we are grateful. Jesus says in verse 19, your faith has saved you. The second is a bit more hidden, though. Note how Luke mentions in verse 15 that one of them, realizing he had been healed, returned to thank Jesus. It's not necessarily true that the other 9 were just a bunch of ingrates. Rather, they were doing what Christ had instructed them to do. They obeyed in an act of faith, and in doing so, were healed along the way. While they were healed physically, however, the leper who returns is also healed spiritually. He is saved. How often do we forget, in the midst of stresses and struggles of life, that we've each been blessed by God? It's not a matter of remembering to thank Him for the big things. Those parts of life are the easiest to be grateful for. It's the small things, the things we take for granted, that we ought to try the hardest to be thankful for. Not only will that reflection make us more appreciative of our blessings themselves, it will remind us even more deeply that all of life's blessings are gifts from God. A question for reflection. What are some things you are grateful for today?